So if you come up with something, first off there, Davi, like many times people will decide to just, I came up with this great idea. I'm in love. I'm so emotional about it. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to be a gazillionaire. This is the one. This is the one I've been waiting for. And sometimes you're making decisions based on how you feel and your emotions than a business decision, right? You have to put your business cap on and figure out what you put in and what you're going to get out. Or you think about what the window of opportunity is. I might have invented a couple things. I have a head start, and I've been listening to people and their ideas for all these years. And I've watched some people be very successful. I've watched some people hit and crash. And I learned from them, and I tried to find where they were before they came to me and help to navigate them to see if I could put them on the right path.
Welcome to another episode of Creativity Boost Podcast. Today, I'm super excited because I brought to you, my audience, someone really, really powerful who is going to help us unlock some secrets around how to make money from your invention idea. Now, have you ever had any idea? Have you ever had anything that you thought about that you felt like, oh, this would be a great thing to venture into, and you probably forgot about that idea because you were not sure if it will make money or you didn't know how to make it make you money? Then this is the episode that you want to listen to, because today I have on the show a serial inventor. He has 15 patents to his name. He's also an inventor coach. For the past 18 years, he has been teaching people, coaching people, and helping people to have their own patent, to have their own licensed ideas, licensed inventions. And this man is a man of many parts. He's also an author of several books. And interestingly, one of his books is titled How to Make Money from Your Invention Idea. And interestingly also, that is what we are going to be talking about today. So the title of today's episode is How to Make Money from Your Invention Idea. Today, I have the pleasure to introduce to you Brian Freed. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brian. You want to just say hi to our listeners?
Thank you. Well, hello to all the listeners out there. Thank you for joining us. And hopefully I'll share my experiences and ideas with you that maybe you can come up with your own ideas and be able to commercialize your invention.
Amazing. Now, Brian, when I saw your profile and when I met you, you really came off as someone who has done a lot of work around turning your idea to profit. And the reason I brought you on this show is because that is something that I found many people need help with. Many people lack the understanding of how to go from idea to profit. They lack the understanding of how to make money from an idea. But meeting you, it looks like you figured out a framework, you figured out a way to actually make money from an idea. Can you tell us a little bit about it? What is it all about?
Well, it's really about just being aware. First, it's about coming up with the idea, right? You need an idea to work on. And I could say that it's really about just being aware of your surroundings. What's going on around you? You wake up in the morning and you hit the alarm clock. You go to the bathroom. You're using a toothbrush. You're using an electric toothbrush. Maybe there's something that you're doing in the shower, that the way that the soap dispenses, whatever it is, there's things that are going on. Then you're in the kitchen and you're making yourself breakfast, or you're taking something on the go. You have public transportation you use, or you're taking a bus, school bus, or you're driving your kid to school. There's so many things. You're traveling in an airport. There's so many things that people are doing on a daily basis that sometimes as you're going through and doing your routine things, sometimes there's going to be something, the way it's done, that annoys you. And you're going to stop and say, you know what? If this was done this way, maybe it could be better not only for me, but for other people. And I think that's the spark that people need. And some people, when that happens, they go, you know what? Let me leave it to somebody else. Maybe 20 years from now, I'll say woulda, coulda, shoulda, whatever. But right now, if you stop and capture that idea, you could have an opportunity that could either be a side hustle or change your life. Or you take a chance and you invest in yourself, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And that's the kind of thing that I go through with people to figure out, when you have an idea, is it something that you think is a big enough problem, not only for you, but for other people out there? And if it is it something that you're going to be infringing on somebody else's intellectual property, their patent, if you continue? Is it something that's in the public domain, where it's over 20 years in the patent office for a utility patent or 15 years for design, and it's public? That means that either you and I, we could both make the same thing. Or are you free and clear for the moment, where, let's say you have an opportunity to say, you know what, my idea looks novel and unique, and I think I can move forward with it. I'm going to commercialize it. But I can tell you, Dafi, many times as I'm going through working with people, most of the time, I help them to realize that they should stop and move on to their next idea. It's painful, but from inventor to inventor, I can tell you this because I kind of see things in a point where it's I'm intuitive in a way, just kind of navigating through. I don't have a crystal ball, but based on my experience and expertise, I got to figure out, is this something that you're going to put your time, money, energy, and effort into, and are you going to get a return? And that's the most important thing to how to make money with your invention idea is, what do you have? Is it something that's going to make you money in a return, or just move on to your next idea and wait? Because if you came up with that one, you'll come up with another one.
So what I'm getting from what you're putting down is that there are ideas and there are ideas. So before we make progress to the next part of this discussion, how do you differentiate between the ideas that are worth following through and the ideas that should be put aside, or the ideas that are just learning experiences or stepping stones to something better?
I would say that exploring the window of opportunity. So if you come up with something, first off, Davi, like many times people will decide to just, I came up with this great idea. I'm in love. I'm so emotional about it. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to be a gazillionaire. This is the one. This is the one I've been waiting for. And sometimes you're making decisions based on how you feel and your emotions than a business decision, right? You have to put your business cap on and figure out what you put in and what you're going to get out. Or you think about what the window of opportunity is. So let's say somebody comes to me with a lady's shoe and the heel does amazing things. Okay. Now, I'm not gonna ask this question, but you know, right off the bat, if it's a woman's shoe, you already lost half your audience, right? Or more, because men most likely won't wear that high-heeled shoe. Okay. Then when you have your high-heeled shoe that does all these amazing things, if it's not the right design, then nobody's going to buy it, right? It's got to match their dress. It's got to feel good. It's got to fit right, every size. So what I do is like to evaluate what the window of opportunity is. So it's okay. There's still plenty of women to be able to sell a high-heeled shoe. But what I like to do, let me just give you an example. So I came up with this product many years ago called pull ties. Okay. Now, this originally came up with, and I'll just show you what it is first and I'll explain it. So you take any plastic bag, cereal bag, freezer bag, you put it through the loop, you push this up, you pull it, and it seals it tight. Okay. That's pull ties. So I originally came up with this in a smaller version for bag, right? For bread bags. They had the twist ties and the plastic tabs on it. Those annoyed me. I could never put them back on or take them off. So I came up with this product. I used the draw lock that we had for my daughter when she was younger. Now she's 22. And I had this button on my sweatpants at the time that I was wearing. So I kind of put it together like a sliding track. I'm like, could this work? No teeth, no nothing, and just kind of going up, and it stops and it's tight. So the point of this is that I was on QVC on air for almost 3 years with this product. And when I went on, I said, yes, you can use it for bread. You can use it for cereal bags, right? You open the cereal bags and you crunch them down, and you open it next time and it's right? It's stale. Or how about the club box bags that you buy of French fries and mixed vegetables, freezer burn? Then I can get into your pantry. So at the end of the day, I said, how many people have a kitchen? That's why I won. So my window of opportunity, I found a way to make it so it's a bigger window of opportunity and be able to capture as much audience as I can. But you have to be realistic, because sometimes sometimes people say, I came up with this amazing golf ball, and I love using this analogy, but I came up with this golf ball. It does all these amazing tips and tricks and all these type of things, and everybody in the world is going to want this golf ball, right? But when you step out of the golf course, or you look around in the golf course, and you're like, wow, everybody, look at all these people playing golf. But when you step out and you ask people, do you play golf? Do you play golf? Do you play golf? Not everybody plays golf. So it may feel this big, but when you narrow it down, and then out of the people that play golf, how many different golf balls are there to choose from? And why are they going to pick yours? So it's good. There's an opportunity. You might have to make a little more noise than the other ones that are out there to be able to capture that window of opportunity of buyers, right? But that's what I'm talking about. So kind of golf is niche, mass market, right? So I've come up with different products that have been on as TV type of products, infomercial products. I've had kitchen gadgets. I have tools. I have kids' toys. So as you're just going through the phases of life, you start to realize things, like I always say, some of the things that I invented that were in the kitchen from watching my wife do things that I thought could be done a little bit better, or when I had my daughter, we were buying all these toys, and I used to rip the guts out of them to just like take things and twist it and try to make things a little better for me as a parent, and interesting for her. So I'm just saying, like, these are the things that if you're in the zone of coming up with ideas, and we're talking about product ideas, there's people in your audience that might be listening that are business owners or come up with a business idea. I can tell you one of the most important lessons is to do your research, right? When you start a business, or you're going to start a business, realistically, you're going to come up with a business plan. And I'm not saying you have to have a heavy forecasted business plan and all this stuff, but you got to be real. You got to ask people questions to see if it's something not only are you going to use, but will other people use it? And that's the thing, is just to gauge that, be real, and know that if they are giving you feedback, take it. And if it makes sense, then change it. If you're not going to be flexible and you go out to the market with something, whether it's a business or a product, you want to try to shift around that brick wall, not hit it. So just trying to just be flexible, listen to people, get feedback, protect yourself along the way, which we could talk about, and be ready to hustle.
What I see is that you just basically took simple everyday things, and you turned it into something useful. And that really, aligns with the way I think about creativity, because many people think that creativity is complexity. They think that until you build a machine and you land it on Mars, then you're not yet creative. And so there are people who are listening to us right now who are creative, who are potential creatives, but will not manifest or ignite their creativity because they are waiting for something out of this world. They are waiting to be able to land a spaceship in Mars, for example. While we have you here, just being able to look around you and find simple solutions to simple problems that, if not solved, could turn into big problems. That is amazing. So how do you define, like, being able to appreciate an idea, even though it looks small, Because what you just opened my eyes to see is that it's a small problem, but there's a mass market for it. So there's the small problem being solved for a mass market, and then there's the big problem being solved for a small market. So how do you know where you should be in terms of coming up with an idea as an individual who wants to venture into that path of going through from idea to invention?
It just happens. You have to be on guard, and you have to stop before you get distracted, and write it down, text yourself, email yourself, leave yourself a voice message, whatever it is. But it's really about the awareness. It's about, maybe I pick on things too much, I've been told. A good thing sometimes and bad things sometimes, or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, you want to be able to think about things as you're doing them and be aware. So I've had a chance to speak to corporations and recently in a factory, and all kinds of interesting assembly lines and different types of tasks that each station is responsible for. And while they're doing their task and kind of doing the same thing and same routine, everything else nonstop, day in, day out, to have them think about what they can do to make it easier on them, on their feet, the production time for the customer, to make the product less expensive for manufacturing, just the innovation within companies, whether you work in a company, to be able to have that kind of opportunity to innovate for yourself in the things that you do outside of work. You enjoy sports. I've had plenty of people that love sports that come up with sports. I have people that are doctors that come up with medical devices. I have people that are doctors that come up with kitchen gadgets. It doesn't matter. But you want to be able to work on things that not only do you have a falling in love passion, and that's okay. Some people, like, they would be okay with having a patent up on their wall and they call it a day. They're happy, right? That's what maybe some people want to do. But if you want to make this into a business, so every idea, if you treat it like a business where you're doing your due diligence and you kind of go through the steps of coming up with an idea and going through the intellectual property search, right? A patent search to see if you're going to continue and you're going to be free and clear as an opinion, or if you're going to hit a brick wall and you're going to be infringing on somebody else's patent because it's an active patent, or it's too close, or maybe there's too much of a market. So these are things that are important to evaluate, just like any business opportunity that you do. And then the other part is, okay, what do you do next? So I came up with this big idea. What do I do next? Who do I call? I don't know how much it's going to cost. Am I going to make money? What if somebody steals my idea? There's all these things that when I talk to somebody, they're concerned about. And I understand that. And you want to make sure that no matter what you do, whether it's an invention idea or if it's something where you have construction in your home or whatever, you probably want to do your due diligence. You want to know who it is that you're going to talk to your idea about. You have them or sign a non-disclosure agreement. I have one on my website, which I'm happy to share. You can download and use for when you're going over an idea. But do your research. Don't make decisions from here, right? Make it from here. Say, okay, I got to think about who I'm going to work with, who I'm going to trust. But you got to be able to let go a little bit and do the best you can, follow the rules. But if you don't tell anybody, then it's a woulda, shoulda, coulda again, right? It's something in the past that you'll go, I just didn't trust. I didn't do this. I didn't know who to call. But that's why I'm out here, to be able to put myself out here to say, hey, I'm nothing special. I might have invented a couple things. I have a head start, and I've been listening to people and their ideas for all these years. And I've watched some people be very successful. I've watched some people hit and crash. And I learned from them, and I tried to find where they were before they came to me and help to navigate them to see if I could put them on the right path. Or, like you said earlier, you say, you know what? just because you work on something and you move on to your next idea doesn't mean that you're a failure or you quit. It just means that you're smart. Can I tell you something, Radafi? Like last week, I worked with a professional NFL player, okay? Consulted. And he had an idea with his wife. And by the time we were done, we realized that there were many versions of it out there. And he's like, but I still may want. Look, if you go this route, realistically, there's other ones out there and you may have a little. So by the time he was done, he goes, you know what? Maybe I'll wait for my next one. I said, you know what? The money that you just saved, you have your little girl in the back there, put it in her college fund or save it for the next idea, whatever you want to do. But work on things and spend money on things and be smart and think about ways to be able to do things. Even if you have the money or if you don't have the money, try to do things on a shoestring budget. What I was saying earlier is I take things apart to make prototypes. I'd look and I'd search online, and I'm realistic. Like a lot of people, what they do is they come up with an idea and they put in the keywords of what they came up with. And then they go, oh my gosh, nobody in the world has my invention because I look on page 1 of Google, or I went down the aisle of Walmart and oh my gosh, it's not there. I'm going to be a gazillionaire, right? So you got to be realistic with what you're doing and evaluate your window of opportunity and look at your ideas, whether it's a business idea or a product idea, as something that what you put in, you want to get out, and be real. And if it is something that's out there and yours is enough of a difference, that's great. Well, in business, what's going to make you different than everybody else out there? Like those machine shops. They were working on things over and over and they're competing against another machine shop. But if they have a competitive advantage to be able to make those pieces quicker and easier, more efficient, and I can bring the price down and somebody bids in my factory or their factory, I'm going to win the job, right? Because of people out there that are innovative and think about ways to make things better, make your life easier, do things quicker. I could tell you another situation where a lot of people come to me with an idea and it's cool, but what you're making me do is do 3 or 4 more steps with something I just did now. I just went pop, but now you made me go pop, 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 pop. It's cool, but now you made me do things. And on top of that, you made me clean it. And this first way, I didn't have to clean. So it's a new way of doing something, which is interesting. But as a consumer, am I going to want to do 4 or 5 more steps to do the same thing that the one stepper did? You know what I mean? So you got to think about things. And then one more point. A lot of people come to me with ideas that they are very specific. For example, like something for the golf, right? We'll just get back. I don't even play golf. I did a long time ago, but a lot of body parts hurt me these days. Anyway, hopefully I'll feel better. Somebody has an invention for that would help, but we'll get there another time. But the point I was going to make is that sometimes people show me something and they tell me what it's for. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. That's niche. But what if you made it this? And you can make it for kitchen and bathroom and something else. And then what you came up with for golf is like number 5 or 6 on the list. Oh my gosh, now I have more opportunity up here. Or maybe you just balance it, but it doesn't. You want to try to take it out of the mold of what you came up with it for, to see what audiences that you can expand to make it so it's worth it. Same thing in business. You know, you don't want to go too far away because you want to stay focused with what you're doing, but which ones are going to be first, second, third, fourth, fifth in prioritizing. So it's very important.
Wow, that's a lot of insight there. Now, I have a question, and I think you touched on it in your last response, but this time I want to drill down into that aspect a little more, because I met a young man several years ago, and he saw something I wrote, and what I wrote, I said, poverty is not a lack of resources, but a lack of creativity. And then he was offended by that, and he said, how can you say that? I have ideas, I have great ideas, but I don't have resources to make these ideas come to pass. And so the reason why I cannot do these ideas and make these ideas what they could be is because I don't have capital, for example. So how can you tell me poverty is a lack of creativity? And then I could shed what I told him afterward, but I want to bring the question to you. We have listeners who may be listening to this and they have ideas, but they don't have capital. They don't have any investor believing in them. They don't have any savings, to bootstrap their business with or their ideas with. So what do you have to say to people like that?
I've been there too. Okay. So what do? Everybody can take different paths. Either you can complain or you can try to find money or you figure out a way to earn it. Right. And what I think is really important, because people come to me all the time, Brian, I have a great idea, but I have no money. Okay. Well, you should work on this when you do. Okay. Get to a point. So let's just give some gauges of what things might cost. Okay. So when you come up with an idea, you probably want to do a patent search. Okay. You want to try to get as close as you can to what you're thinking about so you can compare it and see what similarities are out there and how yours can be different than what already exists. So if you're going to do a patent search, it might cost you between $250 and $1,000. Okay. They're going to compare what you have to what already exists. They're going to give you a patentability opinion. It's kind of important to know, because why go to step 3 or 4 and find out later on that you're infringing on somebody else's patent, or it's in the public domain because it's over 20 years old or 15 years old for a design patent, that I can make it and you can make it and everyone can make it. So I don't know if I want to continue with this, or is it patentable? And then I can move forward, or at least I got a patentability opinion that we think we can move forward. So as I go through these stages, I know that I'm kind of prepared now to figure out what to do. So after that point, I had an inventor that had no job, young guy, and he came up with this ingenious idea, and he made a prototype for me out of a cardboard box. Okay? Cardboard boxes. And I ended up showing it. I licensed it. The company manufactured it, and it was on QVC. Okay? So let me just back up a little bit. So you can make a prototype, like I told you, like I used to break things and twist, take things apart, and you can make a prototype to make it as close as you can to work to see if it's something that has potential. You can have an engineer or a product designer or an industrial designer, or if it's a cut and sew, like a cool shirt like you have on, but it does some interesting stuff, right? Has pockets in certain places, and maybe it turns into a hood, or I don't know, a handkerchief, who knows, right? You can go to a seamstress for that. You could go to a wood shop to do different things. So you can do things on a shoestring budget. And if you're limited on funds, then wait until you have them. And it might take you a few steps, a few weeks, a few months along the way, but at least you're saving up and investing in yourself. Okay. It's not taking food off the table, your bread and butter. It's something that say, you know what? I'm going to invest in myself. I think I have something here, but don't go to step 3 or 4, start working on things if you know that you're not working on something that you could call your own. That's why I keep going back to the search. I think it's very important. You can do a search without spending any money. Like I told you, to do the descriptive search, take a pen and say, I want to put a light on it. So, okay, I'm going to do light with an LED, a pen with an LED light, a bulb on top of pen, attached to, like, come up with descriptive words. And then when I do a search, I click on images and I see what comes up. And visually I look. If it's something that's pretty similar, I'll move on. I know that I'm in the zone. I'm going to come up with another idea. But if it's something that I think, you know what, that's good, but mine is better, I'm going to start keeping a log of it and seeing what I can take in. So when I'm doing that search, I can compare, they can compare for me. So search is important. You might have to spend a few bucks on that. But if you're doing it by yourself to start with, going to the stores, going online, checking to see and being realistic, you might be done and it costs you $0. Or You start collecting it. Then you do the search. Then you may want to make a prototype, right? So you make one yourself, or you have to hire someone. If you have to hire an engineer, it could cost you a couple $100 to a few $1,000s. How complicated is your idea? Mine are simple. Here's another one I came up with. I happened to just come home from a trade show, and I took the paper towel holder. So I'm giving it back to my gave it back to my wife, but this is a paper towel topper. So you have a paper towel stand and the paper towel roll. You put this into the inner tube. So when your hands are wet or dirty, you put it on top instead of the paper towel roll getting all dirty on top. So it keeps it clean and dry. I'm just saying simple stuff. So as you're going through it, you figure out what you should work on and be real. And then, so you might spend some money on engineers and prototyping. And then let's just go to the licensing. Okay. Licensing means that you're going to a company that has similar type of products in that category. And you're going to go to them and see if they're interested in licensing the rights to your intellectual property, to your patent, because you filed either a provisional patent application, which gives you the right for 1 year to say your patent pending while you're exploring the market. And before that year is done, you're going to file your non-provisional patent application, otherwise known as a utility patent. So if I'm patent pending or patented, I can show a company that has similar products and has good distribution, and I'll see if they want to manufacture it, distribute it, and then I earn a royalty from it. So you spent a little bit on the search, your time, you spent a little bit of making a prototype, protecting your invention with at least a provisional patent application or a patent, utility patent, design patent, and then you could start showing it around for potential. If you have the funds to manufacture, then you don't have it and you want to wait, then you save up some money and then you go into manufacturing. And then you're a business person, entrepreneur, you're making it for $5, you're selling it for $15 or $20. You have your margin there, you have operational expenses, you have shipping, logistics, accounts payable, receivable, returns, marketing, and you're a business owner. Congratulations.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of, insights and very profound. Now I want to take you a bit back to one of your other books. You have a book that you titled You and Your Big Ideas. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And specifically, what is an idea? Because I know we've started this show already and we've said a lot about ideas under the assumption that people already have ideas or know what ideas are. But for the benefit of those who at this point of the conversation may not even know what an idea is, if they have an idea, how to generate ideas if they don't have ideas, what can you say to that?
Well, first off, I could say to my book, You and Your Big Ideas, that it's outdated. I need to get my version 2 going. Okay. That's why I came up with 2 other books after that. But really, what an idea is just something that sparks that aha moment. It's being in the moment and thinking about things as you're doing them. Because some people do things just passive, like just this is what it is, routine. I don't care. I got a million things going on. But if you kind of stop and watch the way you tie your shoes, or the way that you put your shirt on, or the way you put your headphones on, the way that you set up your room, like different things, right? Somebody thought it was too heavy to move furniture, and somebody came up with a better way to move furniture. There's something for everything. Can you make it better? Can you find the gap in what's already existing and be able to fill that gap? And is there enough people that are going to feel the same way as you to figure out if it's something that you should work on it or not? Is it too much of a risk for you that maybe you should just consider getting it to a certain point, licensing or manufacturing, licensing? Or is it something that you can take that leap and manufacture and maybe make a good profit margin and turn your side hustle into a full-time job or career? So wow, I think just like capture it, be aware. Every move you make, once in a while, be picky on what you're doing and say, but it's got to come to you. You don't want to like rack your brain, concentrate, like doing that. But think about just putting yourself in the activities of your life, from the time that you go to sleep till the time you wake up and everything in between, there's things out there that you can make better. Question is up to you whether you want to do it or not, and you can capture it and then know what to do with it. Hopefully you watch the show.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Now, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Like, you have 15 patents now, but I want us to go back to many years ago when you didn't have any patent. What were you like, and how did you become this man that we're seeing today, who is now an inspirer of innovators, is now a coach for inventors, is now helping people go from idea to invention? What were you like before you ever made your first patent? Were you always an inventor type of guy? Were you always like, a geek kind of guy? Or were you also in a job before now? How did you evolve into what you are now?
Well, I can tell you that I have a public relations business background, a marketing background. I've done a lot of things like that. So when I look at things or I come up with ideas, I'm looking at things from a consumer perspective. I know I'm thinking about how a consumer uses it before selfishly myself.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, growing up, I was the type of kid that, first degree black belt. I used to be interested in a lot of things and trying to science I was interested in. Not like the spectacular student, but, just a good student, good personality, like just to kind of get through things and have fun and be able to like take things apart, and just interested, like intuitive, kind of inquisitive type of person. I feel like that's the type of person that I was. And as I started to come up with things and watch things in stage, I used to build like a list of like cool ideas that I thought would be interesting. And I just had them on, and I used to check a bunch of them off because they either were invented. It's funny because my daughter, as she was growing up, I mentioned she's 22 now, but she had her invention notebook, and she said,
Wow.
"Daddy, I came up with this great idea. Let's talk about." "Oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm going to buy that for you, even though we found it." Right? And she get, "Daddy, I came up with another one. Found it. I'll buy it for you. I'm proud of you."
Mm-hmm.
Keep thinking about it. And that kept going on for years until she went, "Daddy, I came up with this thing called the iPad." Right? And I'm like, "Game over, done. I'll buy you the iPad. This game's over. Retire your notebook." But I think it's as I was going through in the beginning, I made a lot of mistakes. And I realized that a lot of people also were in the same boat, because I used to go to a local inventor club. And then I started to have some levels of success, and I started to come up with more and more ideas as I was doing things. And then I just built up a portfolio of patents. And then I started to help other people, because they asked me, "Brian, hey, you did this. You had some level of success. Can you help me?" Until I realized that I was up till 2:00 in the morning talking to people in California, which was 3 hours behind. My wife's going, you coming to bed, or like where? And I was like, maybe I should turn this into a living where I'm consulting and helping people, because I think I'm pretty good at it. I always make sure I do the right thing. I tell people like it is. I don't BS them. I challenge things. I don't say exactly what it is, but I think I have pretty close to what I think the opportunity might be. And that's a good gauge for helping people to continue on their path or to have them stop. And as I've built this consulting of helping inventors and kind of empowering them to make the decisions, make better decisions, I built a community. I've been running inventor clubs for 15 plus years. Now it's called the National Inventor Club. I have tens of thousands of people on there. I built an app a few months back called Inventor Smart Community. So my inventor club is National Inventor Club. I do monthly live streams. The Inventor Smart Community you can find on Apple or Google Play Store. And it's social media and networking. And we have all kinds of events and podcast, webinars and groups and all kinds of fun activity going on in there. Once you can have freemium or premium membership, and premium obviously has its privileges. And just the books, and I host a TV show called Got Invention Show, where I'm able to help kind of get the word out of inventors and their journey and what they have to be able to let people know all the amazing things that are coming around and out there, and hopefully up and coming future gazillion-dollar products and ideas. So I just I enjoy it. I love catching people from the start so I can give them the right information and help them to just navigate the path of who they are and what you have, and then figure out what the best path is for you. And I'm not putting you down any path. If I talk to somebody and it's the last call I ever have with them, I'm okay with that. As long as I know I'm giving them the right information to lead them. And if it's not this idea, then it's the next idea. And I feel great.
Wow, that's a lot. And that's awesome. For those who are listening, I know by now you're wondering how you can get all of this information. I'm going to put all the information for you in the show notes or in the descriptions below. So don't worry, you're going to get all the links. You're going to get all the access to the freemiums and the premiums, whichever one works for you. Now, Brian, you said a lot of things, and just listening to you talk, I can see that you're a father or a mother of many brain children. You have given birth to ideas, and these ideas have produced even more ideas, and these ideas have gone on errands for you and brought money into your bank account. What do you have to say to someone who is pregnant with ideas and is on the way to potentially his graveyard or her graveyard without even birthing one of these ideas into tangible form? Because generally what I try to do with my platform and with my engagement with people is to help them go from idea to tangible reality, to help them birth their brain children. So if there's something you can say to someone listening to this today who is pregnant with an idea, doesn't know how, why, when, or where to birth it, to push it out, what can you say to that person that will get that person fired up to start working on that idea and to manifest his creativity in that regard?
I'm a very visual person, so you made me give birth 5 times, and I'm not giving birth anyway. I think that people need to be real and set their expectations from the beginning. Get an idea and understanding of what you're in for and what the time is that you should stop. I didn't say quit. I didn't say give up. I didn't say failure. It's okay to say those things because you can learn from them, and that's fine. Just taking what you have, appreciating what you have, and sometimes along the way, no matter what it is in life, Irdafi, right? It could be your idea for a product, a business. It could be in life. If you're stuck, you can either be upset, frustrated, down, depressed, or you can be happy, smiling. You could have had the most terrible thing happen to you and you smile and everything else. At the end of the day, that situation is still the same, no matter if you're happy or sad. But I feel like if you go into a situation with a positive mindset and clear, knowing that you can tackle what it is that came around, and it may not be as bad as you thought. You just kind of step back and look at it and go, I have a clear mind. I'm going to figure out if it's something here that I can correct, or I should shift, pivot, and kind of go in a different direction. Or are you that person that just keeps hitting that brick wall? Boom, 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 boom. And all you needed to do is just look a little over to the left and it was clear. Right?
No.
There's a lot of people that just look at things one way, and it's still the same situation. If you look at it with a clear mind, you'll be able to make better decisions.
Wow, thank you. And I just remembered while you were speaking that I made a promise in the midst of our conversation that I was going to tell the audience what I said to that guy who said, oh, I have a good idea, or I have great ideas, but I don't have money. And I always tell them, if you are creative, you'll figure out a way to use your creativity to overcome that problem of lack of money or lack of capital, because that's why you have creativity. And that's the essence of being able to generate money from an idea, even when you don't have money to get the idea going. Yeah. So One last question before I let you go, Brian. I know you're a very busy person. What would you say about the concept of intellectual properties? I've heard you made a reference to ideas as properties.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I hear people say that, it brings to mind the idea of a real estate property. What do you think an intellectual property is, and why is it called a property? Is it something like a real estate property?
It kind of is. It's kind of like when you have a patent, the claims that are within the patent that are kind of making you control that patent, like that you own. It has metes and bounds. Like if you owned real estate, that's your property lines. Okay. When I say intellectual property, it's in the forms of, let's say, patents, copyrights, trademarks. You build up assets this way. So if you come up with a good name and a good product, and even though the product may not be patented, you come up with a good, interesting name, then you could build a brand with that name. You can have a copyright to know that you came up with instructions to a board game, or on top of that, to have a trademark for the brand name that you came up with in a certain class of goods. So these type of things are valuable. For example, Irdafi, like let's say I came up with this really interesting product called, it's a blanket with sleeves. You heard about it, right? It's called the Snuggie, right? They didn't have a patent. They came up with a good name called the Snuggie. And then you saw immediately after, the Slanket and all these other versions came out. But everybody remembers the Snuggie because they had a good asset that they built on the trademark. Okay? So you can kind of build a strategy around when you're coming up with something to come up with the idea, get a patent, come up with a trademark, put a name to that product or idea, get a domain name, do a copyright on maybe the technical drawings, just build around it so you can have something that if it ends up doing well, or you might not, you're not able to do it and you might want to license it, you have that IP, what they say, the intellectual property, to be able to either license it or to be able to build a business and have a competitive advantage in the market where you're branding that name. So I think it's important. I think it's important to have that kind of strategy.
Wow, amazing. I'm so glad I asked that last question because it's just like an icing on the cake of what we've talked about. And it really makes sense. If you don't have the money to take the idea all the way to the end, you can license it to people who have the wherewithal so that you can earn royalties. And then if you have the resources, you can build that intellectual property by branding it and, trademarking it and having a copyright.
Sure.
So that you can also exploit it to the fullest.
Right. You build a business.
Yeah. And that way you can make money from your invention idea. Wow, what an amazing session. Thank you so much, Brian.
Well, of course. And when you were saying about the wherewithal of somebody to, potentially license. So you're talking about companies that are in the same space most of the time, and they have the manufacturing, whether they manufacture it themselves or they outsource it. And they have distribution, whether they distribute it themselves or they have sales reps that they hire. And this is not every kind of scenario is the same, but I'm giving you a general understanding of what it's like. So you're going to companies that already have, if you go into Walmart and you flip over a box and that company has a similar product as yours, and you have a patent on yours or you have intellectual property, that could be a company that you can go to and see if they're interested in adding your product to their product line to earn royalties. Every time one of them sells, you would earn a royalty. So there's plenty of options out there. The most important thing is when you do come up with that idea, to stop, capture it, be real, vet it, make sure that you could call it your own before you start investing your time, money, energy, and effort into it. And then just find the right resources along the way. And that's what I do, is I'm the go-to guy. I want to be able to have you come to me, and whatever it is that needs to get done, I'm going to work on it with you. I'll figure it out how to get there to be able to get the path that you want to take. Or after you're done, you're going to say, you know what, Iradafi, great idea, somebody else's, right? And that, or is it similar enough for you to make that decision? You're the boss. So you'll make the decision based on what you want to do to go through it or not. But for the most part, you got to be real and you got to think from here instead of here. That's lesson number one.
Yeah. And for those who are listening to this in their cars, or maybe you're listening to the audio version, when he says think from here and not from here, he's saying think from your head and not from your emotions or not from your heart. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm so elated that we had this conversation. I've learned so much from you, and I believe that those listening to us have also learned a lot of valuable stuff from just listening to our conversation. I'm going to drop the contact information of our guest on the show notes and on the description. Like you've heard him say, he can help you with your licensing, or he can just help you, consulting needs that you may have to figure out if your idea is worth pursuing. And I definitely recommend that you talk with him if you have needs of these kinds of things, or get his book if you want to go deeper in all the things that we've shared already on this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to like, share, subscribe, talk to your friends and family about this episode so that they also can learn how to make money from their own ideas. Stay tuned. Subscribe if you haven't already, because next week I have something really powerful for you. But till then, have a good one and bye-bye.
Thank you. Keep making your ideas happen.